Christian Pulisic, captain of the United States at a home World Cup. He was called tired. Disappointing. Former U20 star Carly Lloyd said he looked soft. The internet piled on. Now we know why. Reports confirmed Thursday that Pulisic was playing with a bone bruise and microfracture in his lower leg. A cracked bone. For multiple matches, while the whole world criticized him. This is the story they didn't tell you, and it changes everything. Let's start with what Pulisic was actually playing through. A tibial bone bruise is exactly what it sounds like, a bruise on the bone itself, specifically the tibia, the main weight-bearing bone in your lower leg. A microfracture is a tiny crack in the bone, not a full break that would snap your leg, but a stress fracture. Every step, every sprint, every kick pain. The kind of pain that makes you subconsciously protect your leg. The kind of pain that slows you down even when your mind says push harder. Now let's look at the tournament through a new lens. Group stage match 1, Pulisic scores against Australia, looks sharp. Match 2, he's quieter, fewer sprints, less intensity. Match 3 against Turkey, he's substituted early, and fans start asking questions. Round of 32 against Bosnia, he scores, then gets sent off but look closer. The red card came from a tackle where he didn't track back. Now we know why. His leg was already compromised. The round of 16 against Belgium, he subbed off in tears. The injury finally beat him. Why didn't he just sit out? Because elite athletes don't. At the World Cup on home soil as captain, you don't raise your hand and say, "I'm hurt." You play. The culture of sports is built on playing through pain. Legends are made by grit, but there's a line between toughness and danger. Playing on a microfracture can make it worse. A bone bruise can become a full break. Pulisic risked his long-term health for a chance to help his country. Whether you agree with that decision or not, you can't call him soft. Now, rewatch the Belgium match with this information. Pulisic's penalty to make it 2-1, he steps up and scores under pressure. A player with a fractured leg taking responsibility when his team needed him most. Then watch his exit. He's subbed off in the 57th minute, crying into his jersey. At the time, fans said he gave up. Now we know. His body gave out. He had nothing left. The injury that finally beat him wasn't a pulled hamstring. It was a broken bone he'd been carrying for weeks. Here's something most fans don't understand. In tournament football, injuries are often kept secret. The medical team evaluates the risk. The coach decides if the player can still contribute. The player always says he can play. Everyone has an incentive to hide it. The team needs their best player. The player doesn't want to let anyone down. The medical staff clears him if the bone won't snap completely. And so Pulisic kept playing. Not because he was dishonest. Because that's how World Cup football works. Remember Carly Lloyd's criticism? She said Pulisic looked soft. She wasn't alone. Hundreds of pundits and millions of fans said the same thing. Now we know he was playing with a fractured bone. The criticism didn't age well. But here's the uncomfortable truth nobody knew, including Carly Lloyd. The system of injury secrecy meant fans and pundits were judging a player without knowing what he was carrying. And that's the real problem, not the criticism itself. The fact that the criticism was based on a lie of omission. So what happens next? Pulisic will recover. Bone bruises and microfractures heal with rest, usually 4 to 8 weeks. He'll be back, but his reputation has already changed. The player who was called soft is now being called warrior. The narrative flipped completely. And his legacy? He led the U20 through a home World Cup, scored 4 goals, and played through a broken bone. That's not a failure. That's a captain who gave everything. The World Cup didn't end the way he wanted, but Pulisic's story gained a chapter that will outlast the scoreline. But this story is bigger than one player. The injury secrecy system in football is broken. Fans pay hundreds of dollars for tickets. They invest emotionally. They judge performances. But they're judging with incomplete information. Imagine if every NFL team had to disclose injuries by rule, but FIFA doesn't require the same transparency. Pulisic's case shows why fans deserve to know. Not every detail. But the basic truth, is this player healthy or not? Because without that context, Every criticism is potentially unfair. Every rating is potentially wrong. So here's the final word on Christian Pulisic at the 2026 World Cup. He scored 4 goals. He captained his country on home soil. He played through a broken bone that would have kept most people on the couch. And the whole time, the world called him soft. The next time you watch a player and think he's not trying hard enough, remember Pulisic. Remember that you're watching through a window and you don't know what's happening behind the curtain. Christian Pulisic wasn't tired. He was broken. And he kept playing anyway. That's not soft. That's the hardest thing a captain can do.